voice in my heart helps me move forward. Life is no longer stranded. The world is grand. Life is in my hands. Love always helps me move forward. Always cultivate before time fades away. Time passes in the blink of an eye. We cannot go back in time. Let's get together and strive forward. Love always helps me move forward. Make my life shine and be the star of life. It's always bright. Love always reminds me to move forward. Time is ticking and slipping away. Love always reminds me to move forward. Winds blow and clouds come and go. Love always reminds me to move forward. Happiness in my hands. Life is so grand. A voice in my heart helps me move forward. Life is no longer stranded. The world is grand. Life is in my hands. Love always helps me move forward. Always cultivate before time fades away. Time passes, blink of an eye. We cannot go back in time. Let's get together, stride forward. Love always helps me move forward. Make my life shine and be the star of life. It's always bright. Love always reminds me to move forward. Time is ticking and slipping away. Love always reminds me to move forward. Winds blow and clouds come and go. Love always reminds me to move forward. Happiness
Hello and welcome to our Super Life Secret Codes online workshop. My name is Ryan Sway, and first I'd like to thank Master Sun for providing us these great tools to improve our lives. I also want to thank our panelists and everybody watching from around the world. Super Life Secret Codes teaches us how to take control of life using energy management. The book was written as a life manual, focusing on the two codes of love and gratitude. If used properly, these two codes can help us achieve success in every aspect of our lives. Okay, welcome everyone. And tonight we are again reading in the Abundance is So Simple book. And we are going to finish up a section that talks about everything exists with love as a kind of state of mind, as a mindset. And then we're going to be talking about actually putting all these tools to use to make it a part of our lives and not just a theory or something that we kind of reference. And I think that's the most important thing about Super Life Secret Codes is you can read the book. Um, Having that knowledge is very powerful. It's great to know, and I think it will help you, position yourself in a certain way. But really, where the real meat comes into it, the bulk of it, is when you actually practice these things. And I know for both Vivian and Amy, since learning Super Life Secret Codes and practicing it, they've seen major differences in their personal lives and their own personality, their energy. And not just them, there's many people that have shared their experiences. And I'm confident that anybody, if watching this show, if you apply these tools to your daily life, you will see positive change in a lot of different areas, which then may be the beginning of a big change. So we really have to take the tools that we are learning here and apply it to our daily lives. And throughout reading and in our sharing, hopefully we will learn more how to do that and what actually happens when we do that. I know later I will share about some of my own experiences and some of the experiences that I've heard from other people that have learned Super Life Secret Codes. And it's really exciting and it's super motivating to hear these stories of, what we call it success stories of how people have improved their lives simply by adjusting their own positioning, practicing Super Life Secret Codes, and how their energy can change. Um, for some people, their whole lives really have done a 180-degree difference. And it's really cool to see in person, um, even beyond just hearing about it from other people sharing. So that is, what we'll be reading and talking about today or tonight. So with that, I'd like to introduce our panelists. We have Vivian from Walnut, California, and we have Amy from Las Vegas, Nevada. And okay, so again, format of the book, dialogue between Master Sun and a student. I will be reading Master Sun's section. So if you hear my voice, those are the words of Master Sun. And Vivian and Amy will be reading the section of the student. So if you hear their voices, you know that those are the words of the student. And let me make an adjustment here. Vivian and I will be getting started on page 252.
I will start.
Vivian, you start.
Yes. While visualization involves a high level of know how and then principles.
Please understand this clearly and do it very prudently. This explains why you need to work hard on your internal and external practices in the Super Life Secret Code system.
To accumulate merits, correct?
Yes, if we have abundance of merits, it is easier for you to mobilize. When you mobilize wealth, money comes along. When you mobilize popularity, social connection comes along. When you mobilize a benefactor appears. However, if you have insufficient merits, even if you use some black magic to trigger it, what you desire may come to you, but you will surely lose something and pose hazards to yourself.
Yeah. Hence the saying, ignorance lives life in vain.
Indeed, try placing two currency notes in front of you. Holding the belief that everything exists with love, try to send bonding and thank you messages to the notes. Next, applying the principles of Super Life Secret Codes, express gratitude to the notes. Through gratitude, the positive energy generated further develops into money and wealth energy and starts to yield positive impact to your body, mind, and soul.
Master, can you give us another example how we could apply the concept? Everything exists with love.
For example, do not eat your bread in haste. Appreciate the good baking skill and compliment how delicious the bread is. From bread appreciation, further extend your appreciation to the many great people, objects, and events making up the world and relish the feeling of bliss.
Everything exists with love. Everything is endowed with great wisdom. This is such a heartening state.
Wisdom is as vast as the ocean. From now on, hold dear to this belief and work hard in your practices and experiments. Let the steady flow of wisdom bring you through and create seamless connections between you and your past, present, and future. Use your wisdom to put the concept of everything exists with love in good application to your daily life, and you will see the effect gradually permeates and spreads to everything around you. Next, leverage on triggering to accelerate your progress towards the right path.
Yeah, I finally understand the far reaching and the deep meaning of the three concepts. Everything exists with love. Wisdom is as vast as the ocean and then triggering.
Okay, we can pause here. Vivian, would you like to share?
Yes, I like the concept that Master Song is trying to deliver here that everything exists with love. This teaching may sound simple, but when we truly reflect on it and then practice it in daily life, we probably will start to realize how profound it really is. Master Song gives a good example here. He said, "Oh, we can place two currency notes in front of us, hold the belief that everything exists with love, and send a message of bonding, gratitude, and appreciation to the notes." In the Super Life Secret Code system, we practice gratitude meditation where we sincerely express thankfulness even towards money. Through continuously practicing a mindset of gratitude, positive energy can gradually be generated and further transformed into wealth energy. But we should have enough virtue, Mary, right? And then this positive energy will then begin to create beneficial effects on our body, mind, and soul. Master Sun also gives us another wonderful example related to our everyday life. Sometimes, because we are so busy with work or other stuffs, we eat our meals in haste without appreciation or awareness. However, Master Sun teaches us that we should train ourselves to feel gratitude toward the source of our food and everything involved behind it. For example, I'm thinking like when we drink a cup of coffee in the morning, we should appreciate the water, the coffee machine, the electricity that powers the machine, and also the coffee beans, the creamers, and every condition that makes that cup of coffee. Actually, we can also think deeper. We also feel grateful to the workers who harvest the coffee beans with the love from the sun, rain, air, soil, and then also appreciate the people who process and package them, and then also appreciate the transportation workers who deliver them to the stores, and then also the employees who arrange the coffee products on the shelves, and even the cashier at the front corner counter, and then who serves us just from just from drinking one simple cup of coffee in the morning, we can already think of countless people, objects, and conditions that deserve our appreciation. This is why Master Song says we should practice gratitude every second. The more appreciation we express, the softer and kinder our hearts become. If we can train ourselves to feel gratitude towards every person, every object, every situation first, our hearts will naturally soften and our energy field will gradually become positive. And when unpleasant things happen, instead of immediately reacting with impatience, anger, complaints, we will be able to consider the bigger picture with a calm mindset. In other words, when our mindset stays positive, our emotions become more peaceful and joyful. And then this impact our physical body. And then everything is because everything is interconnected. I truly appreciate Master Sun established the Super Life Cyclical system to help us gradually correct many of our bad habits, such as blaming others, criticizing, being jealous, complaining, and then calculating. Through this continuous learning and practice, we slowly change ourselves into uh, into the person that uh, and know how to be grateful towards others, subjects, events, etc. And when we change internally, the atmosphere around us will naturally become more harmonious. As mentioned here, just like Master Song says, correct our bad habit is extremely important. This reminds me of what Master Song always emphasized. Internal practice is the key foundation. In Super Life Cyclical, one of the most important meditation practice is the step one, repentance meditation. Some people might say, hey, I don't know what I should repent for. However, Master Sun teaches that by studying Mr. Cai's Dizi Gui, we can gradually discover our own bad habits and learn how to adjust ourselves and behave properly. Of course, many bad habits are not easy to change because they may have been accumulated over many years or even carried from past lives. However, as long as we are willing to face them and admit them, and we can develop the determination to improve, and we will naturally correct ourselves. In addition, I deeply appreciate that Master Song constantly reminds us to reflect ourselves. When difficulties or conflicts happen, if we can first show appreciation, our mindset can immediately shift from negativity to positivity. Once our hearts become softer, we will be more willing to do the self-reflection instead of blaming others first. I appreciate that I can be part of Super Life Cyclical's family members. It feels like every day brings different challenges through different people and a situation, but there are actually valuable opportunities for me to practice and grow. And then I can learn from everyone and everywhere. Thank you. This is just my sharing.
Thank you, Vivian, for your sharing. And something you mentioned, you said, I think action or activity creates positivity. I think you said something like that. And yeah, I think that's really important, right? That for so many people, they don't do anything. Today, there was in one of the workshops, there's a gentleman who's very intelligent, kind of like a physicist, but he's all over the place. And lately with AI, he said he's been using AI, and now he doesn't even have to talk to anybody except AI. And he goes back and forth with all these different ideas. But something I noticed, and we had kind of commented in our conversation, is that he doesn't do anything with it. There's no result, there's no kind of goal set. And so you may have a lot of thought. In his case, he has a lot of thought and a lot of ideas, and even putting on paper or through AI, but he's not actually doing anything. So, the energy's still stuck. It's and it just becomes these ideas. And unfortunately, for him, those ideas just become his everyday thing now, and he really doesn't do anything with it. So the idea that there's no action or activity, therefore it doesn't lead to anything positive, I think that's something that we all have to be careful of. And so there are some people who are like that, where they're spinning their own wheels because he's kind of scattered. And then there are some people who are just doing the wrong things, or they're not prepared, or they're not capable of really getting stuff done. And I think that's the toughest thing, when you feel like you're doing all the right things. I don't know, if Amy or Vivian in the past, it's like trying to get a relationship with someone. You do all these things, but it just doesn't stick. Or like for me, there was a time doing business and doing all the right things and even making money to the company, but then somehow it didn't stay. And so I think that's the part where Master Sun teaches us that merits are so important. We have to have that so that we have the ability to hold on to this positivity. Like, Vivian mentioned, imagine you do all the right things, you think it, you act it, you say it, you get it, but then it doesn't stay with you. And I think that's the part that, Master Sun is trying to teach us through merits. And how do we build these merits is everything does exist with love. It takes these steps and then the kind of execution of these steps to really achieve the result of positivity. And so it's extremely important that there's action to it. And, as Vivian said that, I think that's a key point that we all have to pay attention to make sure that we are doing something, having some action, and getting this result. Again, for me in the past, like businesses, it was challenging. But for me, like with people, taking the action, I would have, 99% generate the positive energy with people. So that was like a gift. I was blessed, and I'm grateful for that. And so we all want to kind of audit ourselves and see, where are we not as good and where are we good, and then figure out how to do good with our good things and learn more on the things that we're kind of challenged with. I think for the worst thing is when you're pushing the thing you're not good at all the time, and you're wasting kind of your talent. And in some people's lives, it's just, that's the unfortunate positioning. You keep pushing against the thing that you're not doing well with, and you struggle, and you forget, or you miss the opportunities that you could do things that you're actually strong with. So later, there's a story behind that too, but I just want to kind of point out, and I reiterate and kind of confirm also with what Vivian said about action, and to turn activity into positivity. I think that's extremely important, and that will help guide us to the right result. So thank you, Vivian, for your reading and sharing. Moving on, Amy and I will be reading on page 254. Let's see. Okay. And it looks like I start. Actual practice is the only way to accomplish enhancement. Excellent. In your actual practice and experiment, aim to achieve a level whereby you develop an in-depth understanding of existence in the world. This enables generating of positive energy and wisdom in you, which you can apply in the sentient world. When your vision and mindset open, you will feel very grounded with strong beliefs and not be impacted by any happenings or matters.
We need to learn and practice a lot to develop such capability. I really appreciate the saying, one is never too old to learn.
That is right. If you do not spend time to learn, you'll be stagnant. Learning is not limited to a project for a specific time. It is a lifelong process. You should hold a strong belief that without learning, there is no enhancement. Without enhancement, there is no wisdom. Without wisdom, there is no solution. Without solution, there is no advancement. The principles are very simple.
Yes, besides learning, we need to practice. Master, Can you highlight to us what are the things to take note of during our learning and practices?
I have pointed out that you need to do positioning. Be ready to utilize your GPS. You should always find out, where am I? Am I advancing or am I digressing? This is to prevent ourselves from being dragged away by negative energy from the ugliness of human lives. With this, you should be well insulated from negative energy.
Excellent. From now on, I am a conductor of positive energy and am insulated from negative energy.
Yes, understand that you are the only one that can protect yourself. Crying does not add marks, but only pulls you down towards hell. This is what I have been telling you since the beginning. If you see a person being depressed all the time because of some bad experience, his life is doomed. If he could work his way against it, there might be light at the end of the tunnel.
Working against the way during misfortune means you are working towards fortune. That is very thought-provoking.
You need to form a conclusion in your positioning. When you know what needs to be positioned, you will know what needs to be let go, and which one is critical versus which one is not.
Of course, I want to switch from losing to winning.
Okay, we can pause there. So this section, highlights this idea of, taking action and really doing. And the positioning of it is extremely important. In life, in my own personal life, my positioning has changed one major change in positioning, which I attribute a lot of it to Super Life Secret Codes. And that single positioning changed a lot of kind of how my operating system worked. And it's something that I, perhaps should have done a lot sooner. But because of a lack of Super Life Secret Codes and, not having the right energy level, it was hard for me to let go. So there's a section here I just want to pull back up. It says, when you know what needs to be positioned, you will know what needs to be let go and which one is critical versus which one is not. So for me in the past, my old business was something that I positioned myself to create this business. And I felt like this was the best way to, build a career, to build wealth. And that positioning forced me to do certain things that was always a struggle. And it was it had to do with energy, in this case, money energy. So the businesses I had before, I needed to have inventory. And to have inventory, you have to have capital. And then you have to buy things and you have to buy materials. You have to then have it made and have it shipped here. Meanwhile, you sell it. But then that energy, money energy that turns from money to products, then changes hands to your customer. And now that money energy becomes a accounts receivable, right? So now it's a bill and we hope they pay. And then we have to wait. This structure was really challenging because I wanted to grow this business so much that there were times that I had to really think about taking on an order. It's kind of like earlier in the book, Master Sun talks about that. Small companies struggle when they deal with big companies. If you're supplying Walmart and you're a small company, one single order could bankrupt you and your family, depending on how you're structured. The amount that they can order can be so great that it could make a little company a big company overnight. However, it can also take a good company and crush it overnight just because of the scale. So that positioning becomes super important. So the positioning of that business triggers this idea that you have to keep building, you have to have inventory, you have to be ready. And that is a positioning that I've always had. And I think in that business, it clearly became kind of a challenge for me. And then even that in outside of business, sometimes we want to improve ourselves, or we want to network, or we want to do certain things. So we put ourselves in a certain place. And it might be the same effect where you have to prepay things, whether it's with your time or with your money, your physical energy. If you're positioned in the wrong place, it triggers certain things. Even if you do it right, it won't work. So what do I mean by that? When I was doing my business, we used to get in, we would do marketing because the product we were in required a lot of marketing. And so we would constantly be looking for these deals to get into these marketing, these type of events. And eventually we would get in and we would get a discount. We'd all of, checked all the right boxes. Only problem was our positioning was we couldn't really do it. Maybe we shouldn't have done it. As I look back, maybe we shouldn't have done it because we weren't quite ready, but then we got it. And by the time we got it, we were already behind, but we didn't know. We thought it was a victory just getting the deal, and now we're part of this event. But what happened was the event was, say, 2 or 3 weeks or maybe a month away. And we didn't have enough time, or at that point, kind of enough energy to really promote it. We focused on paying our way to get there and then doing all the work necessary to have a successful event. But these type of events, most other companies, they've planned this 6 months ago or even a year ago, and they were already doing marketing. So when they showed up, everybody knew they were going to be there, and there was like a story. And so their positioning was much different than us. They belong there. They've been going there. We kind of came in last minute. And I could see later on as we were going through this, I could see our challenges and I could see why we were kind of failing. We were making some progress, but again, it's kind of that thing I was saying, that you can make money, but maybe you spend money too fast in marketing or something. In the end, the net result still is not really gain. It's experience, it's being in the right place. But sometimes you have to look at this positioning, and if you're always just barely making it, it isn't that you're not good at what you do. It might just be your positioning. And you position yourself in such a way that everything you do, you just kind of barely make it. In some cases, you almost wish, it sounds weird, but you almost wish you just could fail and fall on your face and then completely start over. But sometimes I feel like it's, whether it's your negative energy or it's this positioning, and with a little, say, resiliency or being resourceful, you can just make it and kind of hang on. And for me in that business, I feel like it was really that concept prolonged the business, and in a way, it kind of prolonged the challenges and the pain until, one day after learning Super Life Secret Codes, the complete model of the business changed, and it just became more kind of back to like a garage type business with not a ton of overhead and pressure to do certain things. If you do nothing, you actually could survive for a period of time. We didn't have a ton of payroll. We didn't have any, lots of rent, anything like that. We had an online selling platform, and we just brought in the product. So it made that a lot better. And as a result, it freed up a lot of time for me. And that's when the big positioning change happened. And I went from that business as my primary kind of source of income to going into real estate. And now, so as I think about the difference of positioning, real estate's entirely different. And suddenly it's triggering all the things that I've built from the past, all the networking and the things and the friends and the late nights and the going to places with people, socializing, all of that stuff started to connect because suddenly I was in a place doing things that all these people that I met in the past would have interest in. And then on top of that, so first the networking was positive and it fit the positioning. So it triggered the right things. I'm now in a business and I need people who need to buy things. And I met along the years so many successful people that want to invest, that want to improve their businesses by saving taxes, lowering costs, a lot of different things. And I was now in that position to help them. Even better was I didn't need to have any money to buy these products. The products were there from a seller, and the buyers were there to buy it with their own money or bank, whatever. All I had to do is connect these two, and it triggered all the things that I kind of was good at or learned from the past: socializing, understanding people, talking to people, spending time with people, going the, what people say extra mile or white glove service or concierge, above and beyond, to me was just is normal. A lot of the things that I do for my clients, I think it's just automatic. And other people feel like it's wow, it's so much extra. So for me, that just tells me the positioning is right. Just being in this position triggers all these things that I want to do that I don't even think of as like hard work or tedious, like, oh, I'm so tired of this. These were kind of the things that I would do on my own. There are times that I will jump on the computer and just start looking at real estate opportunities, checking things out, learning about a market, analyzing different deals, looking at who's who, and figuring out how to connect with these people. Like this was all part of me to begin with. So now again, this positioning has now led me to this industry in a career that triggers all the things that I have as tools. So in the past, when my positioning was wrong, I still had all these tools, but I wasn't able to use them. I've tried. I remember talking to different people about investing in my company or seeing how they might be able to help. And some of them we did try to work on a few things, but it never, really became much because it was a little bit off. The things that were triggering were not perfectly fit for the other thing. Whereas now, because of the positioning, the result now of where I'm at, all the tools that I have are very beneficial. And then on top of that, you add in Super Life Secret Codes and this energy management, or even what we call energy selling. It really triggers the right things. Today, we were having this conversation in the workshop, and our data is is energy, and our energy and data is based on our experiences. And for me, I'm very fortunate and I'm grateful for this because I deal with a lot of people that are, a lot wealthier than I am, a lot, richer. And that gives me these opportunities and experiences that I wouldn't get normally. And then as a result of that, it kind of accelerates your growth. Imagine if you're a startup for a small company and you have to work through all the pains and then you learn little bits and it takes you years to get to a certain point. But imagine if you partner with someone who was a CEO of a large company and immediately they could share with you all the experiences that they've had. Well, that's essentially what I get to do. And it really helps me now formulate different solutions or suggestions or ideas for my clients because of these experiences. So the right positioning, and that leads to the desired result or the what that we want, will trigger a lot of these different things. And so for the first time, in terms of, I don't want to say the first time, now positioning really triggers all the right pieces. And each day, it makes me feel grateful to work with certain people, even when I have little challenging projects. But the what, or the conclusion of this positioning, is I am here to service this client and help him or her. And as a result, they will continue to build their business, which in turn builds my business. Whether it's this person referring me to their friends, or this person starting with a home and then a second home and then a business, then an office, and connecting with other businesses and being introduced to people, or because of my relationship with this person, again, other people are coming to me as kind of like a gateway to this person. This is a huge, huge asset if you think about it, but it's not something you can just, put as a goal and just go out and meet someone. It doesn't always work that way. So for me, I really am grateful to the universe, and, that having the right positioning, triggering the right things, and then of course having Super Life Secret Codes and managing energy right. And when all these things come into place, like the title of the book says, abundance is so simple. And when I say abundance is so simple, I don't want to sound, arrogant or anything. It's not that way, but it really is trying to just say, if you do the right things, if you position yourself right, the things that you trigger will lead to the things that you want. So if you are thirsty or you need water and you position yourself at the bottom of a waterfall, you're not surprised when water comes crashing on top of your head and you get exactly what you're looking for. Now, if you position yourself at the top of a waterfall or far away from it or in the desert and you need water, no matter how hard you work, you may not get what you want. So my kind of moral of this story is, as we learn to manage our energy better, we elevate ourselves to a point that maybe we can let go. Kind of like in the section we read, if you position yourself right and you come to the right conclusion, then you know what you need and what you don't need. And for me, when I got into real estate, then I realized I don't need a warehouse. I don't need and in that warehouse, I don't need a whole bunch of inventory. I don't need a bunch of employees. I don't need to spend a lot of marketing dollars. All I needed was to position myself in a career path or an industry where my tools that I've built over the years, like networking, knowing people, working with people, understanding people, helping people, becomes the triggering events every day that lead to outcomes. And all of a sudden it aligns way better. And so even when you have challenges, if you take a step back and you do the little quick reset and figure out how to solve the problem, it's in what I'd say your wheelhouse, or what you're kind of built for. And you're not finding yourself doing all kinds of different things. Nowadays, majority of my day, I'm doing the things I'm supposed to. Go look at properties, go meet with people, go talk to this person about a project, meet other people that might help me for development, whether it's political people, regulatory people, corporations that, do collaborations or development projects. All of these things are building something. So even if I'm doing nothing in terms of pushing paper, writing contracts or something, but I'm just out there with people every day, even to the point if I'm golfing with someone, maybe that someone is a future client or knows a future client. These are all things. So everything triggers action or activity towards the desired result. And so I think that is what we're really trying to figure out in our lives. Where are we positioned first? And where do we want to be? And do those two things connect well? Or are we positioned somewhere facing left and our desired outcome or result is facing right? So I think it's super important that we recognize these things, because in today's world, it moves so fast and there's so many things going on that you can blink and a year will go by. Or sometimes you blink and 10 years have gone by and you look back and you think, what have I done? Now, of course, you absolutely have done things. You've put a lot of work in, and But from a result perspective, what have you done? And it might have been a positioning thing. And that positioning did not lead to the result that you're looking for. Therefore, you're triggering all the wrong things. So I know people in different situations where their current job is very negative, and each day they go to do their job, it gets worse and worse and worse because they're positioned in such a way. Maybe they're having unrealistic expectations. If you work for a hourly wage and you work a set number of hours, you will know how much money you should make. And if you work there long enough, you'll have an idea of what type of promotion or raise structure you have. So to think and to position yourself there and then hope that your boss miraculously like triples your pay because you're cool, or you're just a great guy or great girl, that's not really realistic. So that positioning will trigger this hopefulness. And when it doesn't happen, eventually we start to get bitter, and it's much harder to be grateful for this job because now you have this high expectation. Now, if you position yourself in the right job that maybe has, the sky's the limit. In my particular industry with real estate, sometimes it can be that way. If I meet the right person, their financial background and the things they need could significantly change my life. So as we learn more about Super Life Secret Codes and energy and the universe, I always tell myself that whatever problem I have, there is a person out there that with a push of a button, a phone call, a conversation can fix any problem that I have, short of like a disease that has no cure. So if you had a financial problem and it was $1 million, we all know there are people out there with billions of dollars. That person could push a button and just wire you the money. That person could come over and purchase something and pay you a commission, or whatever business you're in, there is someone out there that can do that. If you needed a product or something, the point is, out there in the universe, there's so many things and people that are so powerful that whatever problem we run into, there's a solution to it. It's just a question of, do we meet these people? And that then begs the question of, are you positioned well to be able to trigger opportunities or activities that might lead you closer to that person or those people or that organization? And so these are the things that, this chapter or this section that we read, I think is so critical, is that our positioning has to lead to a conclusion, and that conclusion has to align with the goals that you have in your life. And in my case, I'm extremely grateful that I learned Super Life Secret Codes, practiced it, learned more, learned a lot from Master Sun. And as a result, I had a major positioning shift in my career, which has now led me to something that it's something I truly enjoy. And I, definitely, want to help my clients and service people. So it's really aligned with the things that I have in life or I have learned. And now it's triggering the data that I have in my system to help lead to the result that I'm looking for. So I hope everybody else, everyone in the workshop or, learning Super Life Secret Codes can also find that positioning to lead to those results. So that's what I'd like to share. So thank you. And we'll now move to the next section. And Amy and I will be reading from page 256. Oops. Looks like I start. Yes.
You do.
Okay. If you can always apply the methods I teach you effectively everywhere, you can be freed from worries despite having bad luck, as you have held the right mindset and wisdom and accumulated good merits. Once you have steadied one step, you can progress to another. Start changing yourself now and do not procrastinate. You decide how in depth you want to go.
Master, I am worried I may have missed something from today. Can I run through what I have learned with you again?
All right. I want to see if you have developed a thorough understanding of what you learned.
The first step is to enhance ourselves is merit accumulation. The second step is positioning. Once positioning is set up properly, the third step is triggering or mobilization to trigger positive energy so that we can gather vast wisdom, correct?
Perfect. You have learned very well. I've asked you before, what do you want in life? For most, it is a blissful and perfect life. So pay attention and gear yourself up to apply what I have taught you and get ready to go into a blissful life. Both positive and negative energy exists in the world. The key is, which one are we tapping into? Positioning is critical, and enhancement of wisdom enables you to improve your life.
Understand.
Heaven destroys those who don't look out for themselves. However, in the process of looking out for oneself, one must strive for perfection for all. This is a matter of mobilizing your wisdom. How can you achieve a state that benefits yourself and the rest for a win win situation? If you can understand what I say and keep applying and implementing this, over time it permeates and solves many of your problems, and your life will be perfect.
Well, I have benefited so much, very much. These are important theories that I have never come across before.
Yes, achievement of perfection. The world you see will be very different from what you used to see. This is a sign of abundance and wisdom, which is what you have been aspiring for. I have been really open in my sharing and teaching. Your duty is to relentlessly learn, experience, and experiment to perfect your positioning, mobilization, and maturity.
Adding one more important step to the three, triggering.
Yes, our system is holistic and fact based. Everything exists with love, and information coexists with love. The higher your maturity level is in practicing, the better you can tap into the living textbook and benefit from it. In the process, you further enhance your positive energy level to achieve a state beyond your expectation.
Yes.
Besides being mindful, be very practical in your practice. People who are careless tend to rush into their practice, hoping to achieve something quickly. This may have something to do with their lack of practice from the past, and it gets passed down to present life.
Mhm.
We see some people are efficient and attain results very quickly, but we do not see the accumulated practices in the past and the hard work behind it. There is no shortcut. In fact, our system has condensed the duration required for achievement. The universe wants people to enhance themselves quickly to avoid destruction.
Gratitude to the universe for great help. Gratitude to the universe for not giving up on humans.
Okay, can pause there. Amy, would you like to share?
Yes. So this part of the chapter, one of the section says, "What do you want in life?" So this is a question that master asked the student. So as a student, I know my answer. So in life, we can be doing two things. We can be spending our energy, or we can be building, generating energy, because it can only go one way or the other. Um, it's kind of like money in life. We can choose to be the one who's always spending, or we are the one who's accumulating, earning the money and save it and put it aside. So merit's energy is the same way. If we are not aware of this invisible thing in our life as the most important asset, then we most likely will be splurting and also splurging and wasting or leaking our merits and our energy. So that's why Master San teaches us we have to build up merits, because that is the essence, that is the biggest money asset in the energy world for each person. The more merits we have, the more light, more energy, the better aura, the higher energy we have, and we become this positive energy magnet, and we can attract good things. And also, the more we have more to for usage, right? If we don't have enough, we have insufficient of energy, we're constantly leaking. We are constantly running into trouble, disasters, all kinds of problems. So that's why if we are now understanding, learning about the most important thing in our spiritual life, we have to set a goal. Goal is very important. Goal is what assures us to get to the final goal. If we have the wrong goal, or we tell ourselves, I'm here to splurge and enjoy, then we will be wasting all the good energy and the assets we have accumulated from this life and the past life. That is a shame. So we don't want to do that. So Master San teaches us in everyday life, we can accumulate merits by building up good deeds, by sending our love and gratitude, by creating positive interaction with all the things, all the people around us, and also help out people, sharing the truth of the universe with other people to enlighten another person, so this person can have a better life. That is the most valuable energy building method. So Master Sun, in the last weekly class, he told a story. He watched this on social media. There was an interview with the this Taiwanese game show TV producer, and he recently got sick and he was ill for a long time. He had, I think it's leukemia and some type of cancer. So he went through this big old treatment. He finally got out of it and he's recovering. And so he went on to this interview and then he shared and he said, you know, while I was sick, while I was in the hospital, and people were sending me a lot of remedies for my illness. And but one of them is the worst of all. So he said, is this book that talks about karma, cause and effect. He said, why would somebody send me this lousy thing? And this is the worst thing because I don't want to know about karma. I don't believe in karma. And he almost feel, it's almost like he's putting down, or he is taking devalue the importance of cause and effect. So Master San says that's a big no-no, because you are a public figure and we have, you know, he has social responsibility, and karma does exist. If you false educate people on the cause and effect, there will be numerous audiences out there watching you and listen and think that, oh, karma doesn't exist. So then I'm going to go out and do bad things because it, you know, there's no consequence. It should not have any consequence. So we have to be very careful with what we say and what we do. This person is a public figure, and we also have social responsibility. We may be a parent. Our responsibility is our children, and we can be a boss at work. We have many workers. We have connection with people in society. So how the bigger the influence we have, the bigger the impact we have. So whatever we say, whatever we do, people are watching. If it's negative and it causes a huge impact, the karma gets bigger, and if it's a negative one, it comes back to us. So we really have to be very, very mindful. That's why Master Sun always teaches us about self-reflection, and that's how we can be mindful with what we say, what we do, so that we know that we're constantly creating positive energy instead of negative energy, negative karma. As a parent, if we are not a good role model, not a good example, we are rude, we curse, we say a lot of cursing words to our children, and they learn it and they repeat it outside, and we are literally giving our kids really bad example, and we teach them the wrong way. So as a teacher, if our job is a teacher, if we tend not to have good charisma, and we behave certain ways, how kids are always watching us. Even though they're doing their thing, but they're constantly listening what we say, and they're also watching. So we have to be very careful. All of the things we do would have a consequence, and so we have to be mindful. And recently, in one of our Chinese workshops, we read Master Sun's book, and it talks about domestic violence, especially in the household. Couples, maybe one of them will beat up the other one. Maybe the husband beats up the wife. And Master Sun says this type of behavior, even though it's pretty bad, it's pretty sad, but to solve it, if we fight, we would, like, almost in a way, like head on with the person we're dealing with, most likely it's not a good one. Or we always use the same tone, same attitude. Master Sun teaches us to change our behavior. We have to reset, because if we deliver the same behaviors, we will get the same result constantly. And also Master Sun says, if you pay attention, certain people, they tend to attract the same type of experience, or the same type of people. Some of the people, they go out to look for dates, or significant other, they tend to attract people with violence. So in a way, there is some type of signal on this person, so therefore it could always trigger the same type of effect. So what Master Sun says is we have to go back into ourselves to catch the mistakes and to fix the bug. Therefore, we will stop attracting the same experience. Domestic violence is the same way. Sometimes it could be the person who say things, the tone it's very sharp, or if somebody raised the arm and you say, you dare to hit me? Go ahead, hit me. It's really a triggering word for someone who maybe was thinking about it. But if you instigate and say, hit me then that person will, almost like adding oil to fire. You're going to make it worse. So how can we, before anything, go back to ourselves and catch our maybe bad habits, and also make adjustment to our own selves? So Master Sun's great book, 德香女人花, The Virtuous Woman, it really talks about, it's not just for women and men too, there's certain things we can correct, and our mannerism, our tone, the way we speak, the words we use. And of course, we learn that encouragement is always better than we scold someone, because warmth and love melts away ice and also violence. So it takes time. We have to go back to ourselves and make correction, because when our energy, our aura, our core is changed, and it will trigger a entirely different result. And in the Super Life Secret Code system, and numerous people, because they self-reflect, they start to self-reflect, they change their personality, they change their, get rid of their bad habits, the whole entire life changes. The significant other becomes more loving, more caring, and maybe used to be very lazy and very cold and very ignorant. But because the way we present ourselves entirely in an entirely different way, our children would change and become warmer and closer. It really is this core we're talking about. We are a magnet. Whatever this is will attract similar energy. So I'm very grateful to Master Sun, who teaches us about triggering and mobilizing positive energy. We can truly change our lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy, for your reading and sharing. The last thing you said, we can, truly change our lives. I think that is something that we should all really use as like that's the bumper sticker phrase, right? Like we can truly change our lives. The book is called Super Life Secret Codes, so it's not surviving your life, it's not getting by, it's truly super life. And we have to look at all aspects of life. We build it up. Super is not just one thing if you think about it. Good is, okay or good is like one thing. But if you think about something super, like that meal was super, right? Or it's a lot of things. You go to the supermarket, it's not just one thing. There's so many things. And so we want to really focus in on that as the goal. So your positioning needs to be, to that super level. And I think that's where a lot of times people can, have a little disconnect. They just say, I'm getting by is okay. I'll just I'll settle for things, survive. And that's the positioning. And so really we have to look at what is our positioning. I oftentimes in the past, when we went on these like presentations and stuff, my positioning was to help people or investors make like double their money. And then my consultant would say, nobody cares to double their money, Ryan. We're in a business here right now. People want a 10x, 100x. So you got to show them how they can do 100x. And I said, well, I can't do that. I was completely not positioned for that. I was saying 2x, right? So imagine if you're positioning for 2x, but everybody else is expecting 100x, failed before I got there, right? So in our own lives, position yourselves in a way that supports your result or the expectation. And so if you're 100x, then I hope you're doing the necessary work to get to 100x. And if you're 2x, then you do that. And so don't be a 2x, like more relaxed goal in mind, but be so chaotic in your life or so angry or so frustrated all the time, because your desire is just pretty moderate, pretty modest. Then live that way, right? Enjoy your life. Now, if you put a very high level goal in your life, then yeah, you're going to probably have a little bit more challenges, and you have to make sure your energy is high enough to sustain that. Otherwise, you might run out of steam or run out of energy, and then you'll suffer. It'll be challenging. So alignment is so important, or balance, and that's one of the keys to proper energy management. So again, I want to thank Vivian and Amy for their reading and sharing. I also want to thank all the participants online. And last but not least, I want to thank Master Sun for providing us these great tools to improve our lives. Have a great rest of your night in the US and a great rest of your day in Asia. Thank you.
Bye.